Hello and welcome to the GMAP training video series. My name is Erin Suddeth and I'm the branch manager for the Title I Part A Support and Improvement branch at the Kentucky Department of Education. This video includes instruction on the Services to Private Schools page in GMAP. Once again, I've logged into our GMAP test site as a test district for this demonstration. After logging in, I navigated to the current consolidated application and selected the Services to Private Schools page from the Sections page, both of which have been covered in the General Overview and Tips video in the GMAP training video series. Most of the numbers on the Services to Private Schools page will be automatically populated by GMAP based on the information provided on the school eligibility page. As you can see in this section, most of the numbers are grayed out, meaning that I cannot go in and change these numbers. The only number that can be edited by the coordinator is the cost of Equitable Services Administration. This cost refers to administrative costs for the direct oversight of private school services. This amount must be reasonable and discussed with private schools during consultation, must also be proportionate to the amount of time spent working with direct administration of private school services. If funds are reserved for this purpose, they will come off the top of the private school allocation, and evidence of the discussion with the district will be included in the Equitable Services consultation packet. Following discussion with the U.S. Department of Education, as well as observations during consolidated monitoring, KDE issued some additional guidance regarding the cost of Equitable Services Administration. Funds must be reserved for this purpose under the following scenarios. Let's say you have an individual paid 100% with Title I funds who oversees all or a portion of equitable services. Let's say it's the Title I coordinator who's being paid 100% from Title I funds, and they spend 10% of their time on equitable services oversight. That means that 10% of that Title I funded salary should be coming from the private school allocation. Similarly, let's say you have a coordinator who's paid partially from Title I funds and partially from general funds, and the time they spend on equitable services oversight comes from the Title I funded portion of their salary. Again, that proportionate amount must come from the private school allocation. The reason for this is equitability. The private school allocation is calculated off the top of the total award, which then effectively creates two pots of money, one for the district and public schools and another for the private schools. Expenses related to providing or overseeing equitable services at the private school must be taken from the private school pot of money, not the public school pot of money. If not, what's effectively happening is that a portion of funds intended for the district and the public schools is being used for the private school students, and that's not equitable. So on that note, let's say that your Title I coordinator is paid 100% with general funds, and they spend a portion of their time overseeing equitable services at the private schools. There's no equitability issue here because their salary isn't being paid for with Title I funds. In this instance, the district may decide to charge a proportionate amount for the cost of equitable services, but it's not required. It's also important to note that private schools do not receive any funds. They only receive agreed upon services determined based on that consultation. Now, if your district does not have any participating private or non-public schools, you need to check the box labeled No Participating Private Schools and move on to the next page, which will be covered in another video. The following information must be completed for each participating private school. An Equitable Services consultation packet must be uploaded in the district document library for each participating school. The district document library can be accessed from the main navigation menu in GMAP, and more information about that is included in the General Overview and Tips video. The information provided on this page of the application should align with the information in that consultation packet. So in the chart near the bottom of the page, you will enter the name of each participating private school, and you can click Add Row to add additional private schools. Next, you'll enter the name of the contact person for each private school, and this should be the private school official who was consulted regarding Title I services. Enter the number of low-income students attending each private school that would otherwise have attended one of the public schools receiving Title I's and services. This number should match the number entered on the school eligibility page. The number of students determines the amount of funds for the private school. However, they're not necessarily the same students who will receive services. So this does not represent the number of students who are going to be served at the school, simply the number used to determine the allocation. The next column is the method used to calculate the number of students. The method used to calculate the number of students should be the same method used to count public school children whenever possible. If the same measure of poverty cannot be used, the measure must be comparable to that of public school children. Pages 11 through 13 of the Title I Services to Eligible Private School Children Non-Regulatory Guidance from the U.S. Department of Education provides examples of other methods to collect poverty data for private school children. And this guidance document is located on our Title I Part A Documents and Resources pages under the Equitable Services to Private School Students section. The total instructional and professional learning column and the parent and family engagement funds for private school column will populate automatically based on the number of students. Parent and family engagement funds will only populate if the district's total allocation is greater than $500,000. The Title I funded teachers and paraprofessionals columns function exactly like we've covered in the Personnel Details District-wide page video and the School Personnel and Program Description page video. You'll enter the head count and FTE where applicable. Remember, head count is a whole number, and FTE represents the portion of the salary being paid with Title I funds. ESSA Section 1115C1B states that students must be selected for equitable services using multiple educationally related objective criteria. The non-regulatory guidance that I showed you a moment ago on our Documents and Resources page lists acceptable criteria as achievement tests, teacher referrals and recommendations based on objective, educationally related criteria, and grades. This list is not exhaustive, but it does cover the main methods of selection criteria. Please note that low-income status cannot be used as selection criterion. In this space, identify and describe the multiple, meaning more than one, educationally related objective criteria used to select the most at-risk students for services. One method of selection listed here is not sufficient, and your application will be returned to you. Again, the number of low-income students determines the amount of funding that will be used to provide equitable services to private schools, while the multiple educationally related criteria listed here are used to identify specific students who will receive Title I services. The final column on this page is the description of Title I services. Describe the Title I supplemental services for eligible private school students. The description may be the same for all schools awarded. You'll include the grade levels for each service at each school. And remember that services must occur in a pull-out setting. The description of services should reflect the information found in the school's Equitable Services Consultation Packet. According to the non-regulatory guidance, these services may include, but are not limited to, instructional services provided by public school employees or third-party contractors, expanded learning time, including before and after school programs, one-on-one tutoring, summer school programs, family literacy programs, counseling programs, mentoring programs, computer-assisted instruction, home tutoring, instruction using take-home computers, and any combination of those services that I just listed. In addition, Teachers and families of participating private school students may participate on an equitable basis in services and activities provided with Title I funds, for example, professional development opportunities. And remember, Title I services or other benefits, including materials and equipment, must be secular, neutral, and non-ideological, and that's required under SS Section 1117A2. As always, remember to use the Save and Go To tool to save your work before navigating to another page. Thank you for watching the GMAP training video series.